ki khubor ka Batisi TV lawan ra shapi ta ka Orange Nissan Loom so pho near Fire Brigade Shillong.
Thank you so much, Honorable Deputy Speaker, sir, for allowing me to initiate a short duration discussion under Rule 30 of the Rules of Procedure and Conduct of Business relating to a matter of urgent public importance, and that is the losses suffered by the farmers in the state and derailment of several livelihoods during the last 1 year. Honorable Deputy Speaker, sir, before I proceed with my discussion, may I know from you, sir, where is the Agriculture Minister, sir?
I think he is absent. The Chief Minister will make a reply.
So the Honourable Minister has already written to the Honourable Speaker informing that his family, there have been COVID cases, and based on the protocol, he is quarantined for about 10 days, which includes today, sir.
So it's unfortunate that we don't have the Agriculture Minister here. We pray for a speedy recovery of his better half. We missed the Agriculture Minister in the previous session as well, sir, because we kept bringing issues relating to the farmers. In the last session, he was also absent, and this time also he couldn't be here with us because of obvious reasons of health issues. Nevertheless, sir, this pandemic since last year has brought severe hardship and losses to the farmers of the state and their economy, sir. It has affected their daily livelihood very badly. One cannot measure the amount of loss a farmer is suffering even now due to the various forces, including the pandemic that is working against them. So last year, being the first year of the corona pandemic, the farmers tried their best to cope with the unforeseen calamities and disaster to their crops and producers. They managed to sell their producers at fairly reasonable prices without any profits, though it was not affecting their cost of investment on the crops. During the winter months, from November 2020 to February 2021, the farmers started to plant their crops, and unexpectedly, the second wave of the COVID pandemic spread very fast in the month of May this year. The poor farmers were caught in the dilemma of the lockdown, curfew, and the sudden surge of COVID, resulting in many deaths on a daily basis. The crops in the fields were already due to be harvested and sold in the market. The crops started to rot in the fields. The plight of the farmers were left to themselves to find out ways and means to transport and sell their produces. Braving the pandemic, many farmers came out to collect their crops and tried to carry them to the Shillong market. Since there were no markets in the suburbs, that was promised by the government. Last year, the government in this floor of the House had promised and assured that there would be markets that would be open outside the city of Shillong to facilitate the farmers to come and sell their produces. We are yet to see those markets. The farmers were stopped and harassed by the police for transporting the crops without permits. It was really a nightmare for the farmers between the months of May to July. In anger, the farmers left the vehicles with crops on the road in the hands of the police. Fearing being caught by the police once again for transporting the crops through the city during the lockdown period, many farmers left the crops in the fields to rot. The government was nowhere at that point of time when the farmers needed the help the most. After a lot of hue and cry, the Agriculture Department facilitated a group of vegetable traders to help in marketing the crops of the farmers. These traders formed an association amongst themselves to carry out the business of buying the crops from the farmers and selling it in the bigger markets. The government failed in regulating the prices of these crops and in monitoring the transportation of these crops. In the process, the farmers started to complain of being exploited by these traders. The agriculture market of crops was not regulated by the government nor being monitored. Honorable Deputy Speaker Sir, the 1917 I-teams were also not functioning up to the mark. Farmers not benefiting at all because whenever the farmers call the helpline number, the vehicles are not available since these are busy elsewhere. So if the farmers want to use the government I-team vehicles, they had to wait. And by the time the vehicles came to collect the crops were already rotten. Sir, I met few farmers like Lauren Nongspung, Aibok Kharsono, Kosten Nongspung, and Kiatho Kharngi. And I had a lot of interactions with them relating to their problems. Sir, they reported to me that the price of cabbage was determined by the traders at ₹5 per kg from the farmers. And this cabbage was again sold in the Shillong market at the rate of ₹9 per kg. Sir, radish, which we popularly call as muli, was fixed by this association or the traders at ₹4 per kg. And the poor farmer had to part away at this low price of ₹4 to these traders. I'll give you another instance to the government that the expenditures involved in cultivating tomato in 1 acre is about ₹2,56,800. That includes labor, manure, fertilizers, pesticides, prior to the pandemic, sir. This was the expenditures involved prior to the pandemic, sir. And this year the cost has come down to only 1,30,800, sir, per acre. There's a huge loss, sir. Last year, sir, the cost of tomato was ₹30 per kg. And the farmers had gained a profit of 1,21,200 in 2020 per acre, sir. Whereas this year, sir, in 2021, there has been a loss to the tune of rupees 1,30,800 per acre, sir. So one can imagine, sir, the loss for a farmer per acre here. Each farmer has more than 20 to 30 acres of land. So you could just multiply this amount and you could see how much the loss is being incurred to this poor farmer, sir. So these statistics are not mine. They have been provided by a very reputed tomato farmer, sir. So the investment made by the farmers for cabbage from the seeding time till it is harvested is not less than rupees 10 per cabbage. And the expenditure incurred on a potato is not less than rupees 8, sir, by the farmer. Now the expenditure of the farmers are on the purchase of seeds, manure, fertilizers, pesticides, and labor costs does not commensurate, sir, with the price fixed by the association or by the traders. So according to the farmers, nothing is being provided by the government. Everything is bought by them on their own with their own money, sir. The burden on the farmers, inclusive of the financial loans taken from the banks, is very high. The farmers were assured by the government to open rural markets in the suburbs of Shillong, like in Lat Smith, Umdingpun, and other such places. Where are these markets, sir? They have not come up till date. It is sad to hear that due to financial crisis, most of the children of the farmers have stopped going to school, sir. This is really sad, sir. These children have stopped going to school. They have no money for the school admission fees. The farmers do not have money to buy smart mobile phones for their children to study online, since they have so many children in the family. They can afford to buy only one smartphone, sir, which is shared by all the children in the family, sir, by turns. This is the condition of the family of a farmer in our state. Sir, on the 7th of September, 2021, the Hills Farmers Union had met the Honorable Governor of the state in the Raj Bhavan and submitted a memorandum praying for his kind intervention for the welfare of the farmers of the state. The union have sought financial relief for farmers of the state, particularly to the landless and tenant farmers who are not beneficiaries of the Prime Minister Kisan Yojana scheme. Sir, the Hill Farmers Union had also demanded action against arbitrary deduction by the traders on the farmers' produce brought for sale. This practice of deducting 10% from the produce brought by farmers to markets for sale, and payment is only made for 90%, sir. This practice should be abolished. Government should protect exploitation of the farmers. This problem of the farmers has been expressed to the government time and again, but till date the government has not solved the problem. I appeal to the government, the district council, the district administration and the local authority, that is the SAMES, to make a concerted effort to stop this malpractice immediately, sir. The government of India has been providing price support to farmers in the form of minimum support price, that is the MSP, to 22 crops, which is announced by the union government before every sowing season, and it provides guaranteed prices and assured market to the farmers, shielding them from the price fluctuation. But the MSP does not cover horticulture crops and other produce grown by the farmers of Meghalaya, for which there is another price support mechanism in the form of market intervention scheme. The MIS is an ad hoc scheme of the Department of Agriculture and Cooperation, and the Government of India had implemented on the request of governments for procurements of perishable agricultural, horticultural commodities to protect the income of the farmers and prevent distressed sale. The scheme requires the loss with the union government on a 50-50 basis and with 75 to 25 ratio in the case of northeastern states. Under the MIS, a predetermined quantity at the fixed market intervention price is procured by the procurement agencies designated by the state government for a fixed period or till the prices are stabilized above the market intervention price, which is earlier, whichever is earlier. So states like Himachal Pradesh, Mizoram, Nagaland, and Arunachal Pradesh have already implemented this scheme. And at regular intervals, covering the commodities like ginger, chilies, potatoes, squash, and pineapple, sir. But I regret to note that Meghalaya is yet to implement this particular scheme, sir. So further, there is a great demand to introduce scientific storage at the village level and the collection center at the production cluster level so as to protect the interests of the farmers. So if the government continues to neglect the farmers, there may be a time when the farmers may consider farming as a non-productive and non-profit activity, and they may stop farming, sir. Though the Department of Agriculture was renamed by this government as the Department of Agriculture and Welfare since 2018, not a single farmer welfare scheme has been formulated or sanctioned by this government. The government had constituted the Farmers' Commission for the welfare of the farmers. May I know from the government, what has the commission done in the last 2 years? What recommendations has it made to uplift the standard of the farmers and improve their economy? I hope the government has not constituted a commission wasting public money. The government is required to examine and formulate a new approach to the farming sector, which could be a long-term policy, keeping in mind the various factors of imminent agrarian distress that may hit the farmers of the state, sir. Honorable Deputy Speaker, sir, I suggest the government to come up with a separate budget exclusively for the farmers, which will purely be farmer-centric and be comprehensive for the farming sectors like the agriculture, the animal husbandry, the fisheries, and so on. Sir, a separate budget for the farmers will enable every stakeholders to discuss and experience the efficiencies of the better utilization of public money. Therefore, I urge upon the government to give priority to the welfare of the farmers of the state, for which I will quote the words of the Honorable Vice President of India, Venkaiah Naidu, who says, "The farmers are the backbone of our country. Government should prioritize development of rural India." With this word, sir, I resume a seat, and thank you so much.
I also rise to participate in the short duration discussion under Rule 50 of the Rules of Procedure and Conduct of Business. Under the heading Losses Suffered by Farmers in the State and Derailment of Several Livelihoods during the last 1 year. Sir, we have seen that in the past year, 2020, it has been a difficult year for everyone, and more so for the farmers of the state. Honorable Member from Mawsynram, who is the mover, has already explained in depth about the losses that the farmers suffered and the kind of experiences that so many of our farmers had to go through. I'd just like to touch upon a few points that our farmers are going through at this point. Majority of our farmers, especially in Garo Hills, own their own land. And therefore, they're mostly busy in cultivating their own land. However, we know that our farmers get help from the easily accessible workforce in Assam. Now, during the COVID situation, this was not possible because of the lockdown. Now, in the absence of the workforce from Assam helping our farmers, more and more farmers were seeking help from the government to have access to farm machineries, agricultural machineries. Now, the government usually gives subsidies for these farm machineries, agricultural machineries. However, these machineries were not enough for these farmers. The power tillers, the water pumps, the tractors, our farmers, even if they wanted to have access, they do not have the access to it. And even if few farmers had the access to it, it was really difficult for them to operate because of the very expensive price of fuel. And there was no access to electricity in the rural areas. So therefore, electricity-based machineries could not be used by farmers. And the exorbitant fuel price was increasing their expenditure for their farm produce. So therefore, the entire activity was completely derailed. Now, during the lockdown, we could see that the supply chain of the agricultural goods was completely derailed as well. The usual supply chain was not available anymore. Therefore, our farmers had to sell off their products at throwaway prices. They didn't have enough money even for their basic necessities. Now, in my district, I have a lot of farmers who depend completely on betel nut farming, cashew nut, black pepper, so on and so forth. Now, these farmers could not sell their produces at a proper price. They had to sell at a throwaway price, and it really affected their livelihood. The government could not assist in arranging buyers for these farmers who were involved in large-scale farming. And therefore, the economy in turn was very much affected. Now, coming to farmers, they do not farm just plants and vegetables, but they also have animals and fisheries usually. So during the lockdown, we could see that these farmers had no access to feeds. It was a huge task for them to get access to feeds for these animals. In the past years, we have seen, and we all know that the feeds for animals have been a challenge in the state, especially in Garo Hills. If you interact with farmers, you will find out that usually they buy the feeds from Assam, because the feeds available in the government offices or in the market in the state is very expensive. So farmers prefer to go to Assam and come back, and it's still cheaper for them. So this was not possible during the lockdown. And even now, when there's strict regulation. So therefore, it was very difficult for them to look after their cattle and also the fishes. Now, there has been no assistance from the government for these farmers when it came to cattle farmers as well as the farmers who are doing large-scale productions as well as small vegetable farmers. And it is the most unfortunate thing that could have happened when majority of our population are still dependent on farming and agriculture. We need to have an immediate look at the condition of our farmers. The farmers need to be insulated from natural disasters like COVID, which has happened, not just here, but obviously across the country. So therefore, we need to have a plan from the government on how to insulate and protect our farmers from future such disasters. And we can see that COVID is not going anywhere. We can see that in the near future, we might have to face again some kind of a lockdown or some similar situation. We can see that. And we are living with COVID and COVID precautions. So we need to come up with a plan as to how we can assist and protect and strengthen our farmers in our community. Therefore, Deputy Speaker, sir, with these few submissions, I would like to urge upon the government of the day to look into this matter and help our farmers to encourage and to strengthen them in the future. Thank you.
I also raise to participate in the short duration discussion on the Rule 50 of the Rule and Procedure and Conduct of Business regarding the loss suffered by the farmers in the state and derailment of several livelihood during the last 1 year, that is brought by the Honourable Member, Mr. Himalaya M. Shangpliang, sir. Sir, only few points I would like to put forward. So the year 2021, it is a year of COVID pandemic, and I'm sure that not only the farmers was affected, all the people in the country have been affected very badly. If it is in business, if it is in other type of work that we are doing, we have faced a very tough situation. So while we're talking about the farmers, we are aware that 70% of the population of the state is are farmers. But farmers during the last 1 year, they have faced a lot of problem, especially the poor farmers in the state. They have done the best for the last 1 year to cultivate, even to work hard, so that at the end of the season they may get something back, whatever they have been worked for the last 1 year. But it is a very unfortunate, sir, because there is no market to sell the produce. Though the government have tried best to open the opportunity in various part of the city, even all the district in the state. But even then, that because of the lockdown, because of so much of restriction of the COVID-19 and pandemic, though the market is there, farmers are coming even to sell the vegetable product, but it is very difficult that no customers come and buy of that vegetable. But during the lockdown, why I could have been experiences in the city of Shillong, though the district administration has allowed the farmers to come and sell the vegetable or the produce, but there is no customer. In one way, the district administration, they have allowed the farmers to sell the product, but in other way that they didn't allow the people to come out or buying of anything. That is a very big problem that the farmers have been facing for this pandemic. But sir, we have seen the crying of the farmers from one place to another, especially now with the time of the COVID. People have been facing a lot, especially the farmers. So as a responsible legislators of the state. I'm sure that not only from me, even all of us, all the 57 are very much concerned about the farmers. We have seen that the farmers have to run from the pillar to post, how to get back whatever they have spent during the cultivation of the product or vegetable. But even some of the farmers, they have even taken the loan from the bank. Though the government at the time of lockdown, they have come forward and help the government in other way. For those farmers who have taken a loan, they have been waived off only interest, but principal they can pay. But even then, many farmers, they are very difficult. They are very difficult to pay even the principal. That is according to what we have already been heard, even heard when the farmers speak in the local channel, even came out in the print media. So what I suggest to the government that the government of India, to the present Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he has introduced a scheme, that PM Kisan scheme. No doubt the scheme of 6,000 that the farmers are getting annually, that is rupees 6,000 that the farmers are getting. But sir, I feel that you understand that now if we take only the total numbers of 6,000, it is a big money. When we calculate about the days, the month, but it is a very small money. Even then, they have only get something from the Prime Minister. But I suggested that the present government, or the leadership of Mr. Konrad K. Sangma, if we have kind enough that to have a budget provision, or make a budget provision, if we can add another 500, it will be 1,000. 1,000 will be, I may not be this enough, but at least somehow that it will help the farmers. If 1,500 from the Prime Minister Kisan scheme, 500 from the state government, that will come 12,000. 12,000 will be helping a lot for the farmers. Even the farmers also at the time will be very much happy. From our side, we should not be happy only the state government, because from time to time we are from our side we are proud to say that the agriculture department have help of rupees 6,000 to less than 2 lakh of the farmers in the state have getting receipt of this 6,000. We should not be happy only that for declaration that the agricultural department or the Prime Minister is helping our 6,000. We should be from our side, we should do something for the farmers. We understand that the problem of the farmers, like I've already said, 70% of the population of the state are farmers. It is our duty that we should help something. But I am very sorry to say that sometime I could see that we didn't have that feeling or the sense of how to help the farmers. We understand about the farmers' problem. While the time will come when we help the farmers, sometimes we are distant how to help them. So that's why I would like to urge the honourable Chief Minister, if you can do something for the farmers, like they have already helped for the construction workers. Construction workers, they have already help from the state of the government. Even from those marginalized workers, they have tried to help from the government and do something for the government. And I'm sure even for the farmers is very important. But luckily, sir, we understand that the farmers didn't express about so much of the difficulties they are facing, because they are poor people. Sometimes that is why they have whatever problem they face, they just give in the self. They never expose outside. But it's our duty from our side, because we have seen the problem they are facing by them, especially for the time of COVID 2020, even 2021. It is from our side that come forward and do something for the farmers. So this is only the suggestion I would like to urge the Honourable Chief Minister, that from his side, from his government, if he can do something for the farmers, will be helped a lot. But the main important, sir, I would like to suggest to the government that especially for those ministers holding the agriculture or others, be serious and sincere. What department were they holding? Many important just give a false hope that it will not help, sir.
Honourable member, please wind up.
Yes, sir. Yeah. But sir, yes, sir. But many important, sir, because we have already been experiences for the lockdown. lockdown. Sometimes the ministers going this long. Even others have promised that construction cold storage. I will construct a new market. I will construct this or that. Many of the promises have been promised, but in reality, in the ground, when we find out about the budget, there is no budget provision. So it is very unfortunate when we're talking about the financial system which have been promised by I may say by the minister staff, but it is not in the budget provision. Though we have been committed, give hope, but that's hope, but it is a false hope, I may say. That's why it is not good in that way. Better to be frank. Whatever you can, you said you can. If not, just make people happy, especially the innocent people, I may say. That will affect very badly. With these words, sir, I look forward, since we have brought about this important this problem of the farmers, we expect that the government will do something for the interest of the farmers in the state. With these words, sir, thank you very much, sir.
So the farmer constitute almost 75% of the population in our state, in the country as a whole. This is a very important issue that has been brought to be discussed through the short duration discussion in this house so that we will understand the issue, the plight of the farmer, at the same time how to address with these issues faced by the farmer at the ground. So we are happy that on the 4th and 5th December 2018, there has been a farmer parliament organized by the Department of Agriculture within the state to discuss the modalities of how to help farmer with collaboration with MBDA and Hills Farmer Union. So out of all this farmer parliament awareness program conducted by the Department of Agriculture, we would like to see that something constructive will come out. We would like to see in days to come that those issues that has been discussed, that has been explained in those parliament, in those awareness program, it will really be implemented at the ground. There are different categories of farmer in Meghalaya. Some cultivate food grains and vegetables, others grow fruits, still other real livestock and nurture fish farm. In the past decade, some enterprising farmers have taken to strawberry farming as a lucrative occupation after this was introduced to them by the horticulture department of the state. Strawberry farmers do well if the weather is fine and there are no untoward incidents to stop the supply chain within and outside the state also. So we have seen in the last 1 year the issue faced by our farmer, especially during the pandemic of COVID-19. Many have lost their daily wages, many have lost crops. There are times that they cannot even go to their paddy field, they cannot plant anything, they have to sit at home in the middle of the pandemic. This has incurred huge loss to the farmer fraternity within our state. So we have seen farmers, they have trying their level best to produce and to supply also. Few of them, they sold as retailer in the local retail market. Some they export in the neighboring state. Some they sold in bulk in restaurants within the cities and towns. But during the pandemic of COVID-19, restaurants sometimes they are closed, sometimes they open twice a week, thrice a week. It is a huge problem for the farmer to supply for their produce. There are many instances, there are many issues that has led to the loss of the farmer. Because there is no central procurement agency within the state or minimum support price. At the same time, you have seen the absence of an agriculture policy, a proper agricultural policy in Meghalaya. And at the same time, there is a huge gap between the department, how to help the farmer at the ground, That's why government needs to see which sector which have high demand for agricultural produce and keep those sector in front and give priority for most of the farmer which grow different variety of vegetables or other type of plantation within a state. So issues which are faced by our problem, by our farmer, like the price fluctuation, as honorable member who have spoken before me, they have said. This is a great issue that has to be looked into, how to tackle this issue, the fluctuation of the prices which has brought huge loss for the farmer in our state. Another issue is the inadequate transport, the unavailability of a good road, no communication for the farmer to bring their goods, their produce to the local market, to the farm market, like that. Many have to face huge difficulties in transporting their agricultural produce from their villages to reach to those local market or the yard or a weekly market in which they used to sell. So there should have been a close coordination between the PWD department, the CNRD block, how to facilitate to have a proper road, especially to those sectors which have high potentiality of good produce of vegetable and other crops within a state. So the PWD department, in collaboration with the agriculture department, the horticulture, the BDOs in different CNRD block, we would like to see. In the past, the scheme like the Meghalaya Livelihood Accessible to Market, which has helped to some extent to those villages how they can transport their agricultural produce to the market so that they can access to an affordable market through a proper road. Another issue is that the involvement of so much middlemen, which has caused a great loss for the farmer. There should have been a proper mechanism, sir, to check this issue so that there will be not much interference from the middlemen to suppress the price of the produce by the farmer. Another issue is, sir, we have seen in the villages the uninterested, the youth, they have lost hope in farming. They have gone away from farming. We would like initiative, awareness from the government, from the department to look into how to motivate farmer, the young entrepreneur to come up, and the farmer also. For instance, we have seen many farmers in other states, like in Punjab or in Haryana. We have seen the rich people in those states, they are the farmer. They have a big business. When we try to find out their background, they are all the farmer who have good produce and good income earning out of agriculture. At the same time, sir, we have seen that there is a lack of seeds or planting material. Quality material assured sustained growth in agricultural product that the department has to look into. This can only be realized if the subsistence of small-scale farmers have access to this quality planting material and organic fertilizer. Lack of quality planting material is a major constraint which leads to an adoption of good production out of this. So another aspect with the farmer with regard to the fish farmer, we would like to see that through the fishery department, I would like to urge the Honorable Chief Minister to look into this aspect to see how to help the fish farmer. Because we have seen that in our state, we don't get an average growth rate of fish. The farmer never get an average size of fishes in the pond that they have in their own places. That's why we want to see the department, in order to help the farmer to get fastest growth rate of fishes and with average size, they have to go at the ground. They have to teach them through different training that has been constituted, that have been done through the Meghalaya Fishery Training Research Institute in Maupun, in Ribhoi district also. This has to be incorporated properly so that the fish farmer, they will get the benefit and they will know how to grow fish, how to be the good fish farmer, they will get a good income out of it, sir. At the same time, sir, with regard to the current fish seed production of Meghalaya, if the breeding is not successful, why not hatchery are not set up in the lower altitude area to get higher temperature for successful breeding? Is there any follow-up? We want to know that the department, we would like to suggest that this suggestion to be taken up so that we'll encourage the fish farmer who have interest in doing this. At the same time, sir, that the government should have to try that water body in Meghalaya have not used for fish farming. If not, then is there any future plan by the government, by the fishery department, so that we can have the cage culture in reservoir of Umyam, Leshka and other also. These are new things that we need to incorporate, and we would like to see that the government will take up this suggestion. Lastly, sir, with regard to the farmer the airy farmer, the farmer who used to rear spinning, dyeing, weaving of this airy, Ksairendia, we used to call. Thankful to the government of Meghalaya for giving the status of the airy village for Umden Diwan Right Nongtulu in Ribhoi district, which has happened to be in my constituency. Would like to see more support for this farmer to get from like financial assistance, and then the government will advise them the supply chain, the value addition, so that they will get a good price.
Honorable member, please wind up.
Yeah, I'm finishing, sir. Just 1 second. So that they will get financial assistance from the department to look into. At the same time, a help like a shed where the women, they can carry on their weaving, their spinning, their natural dyeing, especially, sir, where they can transport outside the state and outside the country also. At the same time, they can avail the loom. At the same time, proper market has to be designed by the Department of Sericulture and Handloom, so that they can guide this farmer so that they can get a good income to support their family. Thank you, sir.
I also rise to participate in this very important short duration discussion pertaining to the plight of farmers and the loss of livelihoods. Sir, being a farmer yourself, I think you very well know the challenges of the current days, especially the plight that all the members have expressed. The protocols, the pandemic, how they have gravely affected our most vulnerable entrepreneurs, who are the farmers. Sir, the other day I had made a very detailed submission on the traditional food systems, how to augment them, encourage, at the same time, use our traditional food systems as our USP to build up farmers and to save them from the plight that they are in now. Mr. Chairman, sir, in my area, the area of Eastern Ribhoi, in the area of Ribhoi, the portions of Soyong constituency, many farmers have engaged in ginger cultivation right from the 1980s, seeing it as a very productive crop, as a very remunerative crop, giving them the returns that they expected, and at the same time building up their livelihoods and building up their capital. One of the recent trends is that there is a very poor availability of the seed, the rhizome that they use for plantation. The rhizome that is available in the market is of a very poor quality. Once they plant this particular seed, then they get a very poor produce. Perhaps due to climate change, due to adaptations of soil and weather conditions, the rhizome that is finally planted gets infested there in the soil itself, or when it grows, it suddenly dies on its own. Just a few weeks back, a young boy, a young chap, about in his 25, 26 years of age, called me. He had just planted 30 months of ginger, and his entire produce got infested. He was crying over the phone, a young chap, a young entrepreneur. After him, several other numerous calls came from young boys who have tried to invest their capital, whatever money they had, in ginger cultivation. I have tried to take up this point numerous times on the floor of this august house, but then sadly there came no response from the government. The system that has to be put in place, to which the farmers can turn to, the horticultural department has to look into this. It is not possible, yes, for the government to keep on supplying seeds, but then identification of quality seeds that are circulating in the market is very, very important, so that farmers can have access to good quality seeds that are resistant to pests, resistant to infections. Because the price that is determined in the market, as an honorable member from Shillong West had clearly elaborated, the price determination. One factor is the quality of the produce. A poor produce fetches a poor price. A better produce fetches a better price. So, ginger traders, from the farmers, they bring their produce to the local traders. Recently, there has been this burden upon the ginger traders. The local traders, they connect, they network with the bigger traders from outside the state, mostly from Calcutta, West Bengal. And over the phone, they fix the price. So there have been days where the prices were very good, but then there were days also where the prices were not too good and not too remunerative for the farmers, depending on market fluctuations. Over the years, sometimes 2 years, 3 years, after these traders from outside, they gained the confidence and trust of the local traders, and they started working in a business environment that business trust builds. And after a few years, they started getting this product on credit. And these local traders, they give on credit for 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs, 40 lakhs. And after this credit line has been given, suddenly these big traders from outside the state, they vanish. There are numerous such stories in my area, in my constituency, where our local traders have been victimized because these traders from outside the state, they suddenly vanish and lakhs of rupees are gone. Not only the local traders get affected, the farmers also finally get affected because there is no system. Those who work in the export business across Bangladesh, and the government is also in the know, that the LC or the letter of credit is issued by these people from outside the country when they require to produce from our state, whether it is the mineral resources or otherwise, so that there is at least a line of credibility that has been set up to ensure that the farmers or the exporters, they don't get duped by the ones who are doing business from the other side. Recently also, sir, this sudden energy or drive, the sudden enthusiasm of the central government to push for banking systems, putting a bar on withdrawal of cash, that beyond a certain limit, if you withdraw cash, you will be charged 100 rupees for every 5,000 rupees drawn. Our farmers do not believe in banking systems. They do not want to use the bank accounts because they get these numerous messages, or maybe when they see their passbook, some amount being deducted for one reason or the other. Our farmers get harassed because of if a check is given, the time taken to get the clearances. Not accustomed to online banking, not accustomed to the systems that educated friends are accustomed to. Therefore, these local traders have to withdraw in cash to pay the farmers. But then when the local traders have to pay in cash, they also are heavily penalized once they cross the limit. And every market day, sir, they will require at least 25 lakhs per trader to pay to the farmers. That itself crosses the withdrawal limit. And their penalties run into 1 lakh, 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs, some up to 10 lakhs also per year. A loss to the local traders. When this thing was reported, nobody had a clue as to how to solve this problem. So, we have talked about the inaccessibility to markets, we have talked about the lack of transport, especially during the lockdown. Farmers have suffered a lot. One of the blunder, I would say, from the district administration was to close down the wholesale market we call the Yo Delang in Barawazar, Yodo. That was the biggest blunder because that is the hotspot from where all the farmers connected. They came, just put their produce there and went back. But then with the closure of that wholesale market at Yodo, the farmers were just pushed from that epicenter to the other areas. We went and inspected, so we went and saw on our own eyes. We spoke to the functionaries of Himamalim, we spoke to the friends there. They said it didn't help because the market and the streets were just about 100 meters difference. From Yomolong, that entire street, and the wholesale market, just 100 meters, sir, if you walk. And the farmers, rather than being allowed to put their produce on the very spot where the trade used to happen, they had to sit there on the street, sir, with small baskets selling their produce. This impacted the prices because the entire distribution chain was disrupted and there was no common collection center. So, in spite of several requests, the district administration took weeks and months to decide. How are you helping, sir, by pushing the farmers from that epicenter, from that particular wholesale market where they normally trade to the streets? Our parking space there in Garikhana, the parking space for the sumos had to be vacated because the farmers were sitting there, strewing their produce on the streets. How did it help? It didn't help anybody, sir. These things should be avoided, sir. These stakeholders, the ones who are running the market, they should be communicated with. Their views should be listened because they know how to run the market because they've been running the market for hundreds of years. That's why, sir, sometimes this has been seen as an insensitiveness from the administration towards the farmers, being pushed from one corner to the other. One farmer even slept with his produce. There's a video running where he couldn't sell. Nobody was there because the space allotted to him, there was no buyer. That's why, sir, pushing the problem from one end to the other won't help. It's just that where we've been working, let us work on those particular areas, strengthen them, put the protocols in so that it will not affect the farmers gravely. Currently, sir, the high fuel prices has led to a situation where, because of the COVID protocols, added with the high fuel prices, now the farmers can't even recover the transportation cost of their produce. The rates with which our honourable member from Mawson Ram had informed the House, those are the actual rates. So, if a farmer even sells for 100 mons, he'll be hardly getting 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 rupees. That may be not enough for his labour, forget his transportation costs. So, the high rise in prices, talking about the inflation, because of the high rise in oil prices, we are also seeing a high rise in the prices of food items. whether it comes to rice, whether it comes to potato, the other grocery items that are required, the other eatables, these also have shot the roof. We have a situation where livelihoods have been curtailed. We have a situation where our daily wage earners cannot earn as they used to earn, but at the same time, we are having a situation where the prices have shot up. There are no earnings or lesser earnings, but then the prices that we have to pay for food has shot up nearly 3 times, 4 times. This is the situation on the ground, sir, and nobody seems to be.
Member, kindly try to wind up.
Yes, another minute, sir. So therefore, sir, I have a suggestion to the government that perhaps to show our solidarity with the farmers, sir, we come up with some relief or compensation package. We've compensated the wage earners last year. Government is still working on the ones which are yet to receive. But then, under the Disaster Management Act, sir, I appeal and urge the government, sir, for a compensatory package and relief towards farmers. It's really a plight, sir, to see them. Tears well up in the eyes, sir, when we see such families being destroyed, their livelihoods being destroyed, their capital washed away. So therefore, sir, I conclude with an urge and an appeal to the government to kindly think of a compensatory package for the farmers and for the livelihoods that they have lost. And with these few words, sir, I thank you for the time given. I resume the seat.
I would like to first of all thank the honourable member who has brought this short duration discussion, though of course it was not short at all. It was a very long duration discussion, I must say. But keeping in mind the subject matter, it required time. So that is the reason why I'm sure you have also given ample opportunity and time to everyone to participate. I would also like to thank the member because it will give an opportunity for the government to also elaborately explain the different steps that have been taken by the government. A lot of things have been done, and therefore, sir, as much as the discussion took place, I would also like to take some time to reply to this, and I would like to go through this reply because there are a lot of things that have been done which the people of the state should know. So, sir, our state is primarily a rural agriculture economy with almost 80% of the population which is residing in rural areas and about 70% of them being dependent on agriculture and allied activities for their livelihood. Currently, sir, the primary sector contributes about 22% to the state's GSDP. And the heavy dependence of the state's populace on agriculture for their livelihood underlines the importance of this sector, and accordingly, it is also at the core of the state's development paradigm. So the primary sector has also been identified among the 6 pillars of growth under the state's vision for 2030. So as has been mentioned by almost all the members who participated, the last 1.5 years have been among the most difficult times that our people have faced due to the COVID-19. There has been significant economic disruption causing hardship to farmers, youth, business person, traders, daily wagers, and the general people of the state as a whole. And so the government is aware and concerned about the hardship being faced by the various sections of the society, and especially the farmers and the youth. So early into the pandemic period, the government constituted an economic task force, and it recommended remedial steps and hastened the post-COVID recovery in the different sectors. So we started the Restart mission, and it was meant to revive and give a push to different development activities which were brought to a standstill because of COVID. So as part of the mission and our initiative, several steps have been undertaken to alleviate the hardship of the farmers and the youth of the state over the last 1 year. So at the start of the pandemic, the farmers were facing difficulty in evacuating their produce as the major markets were closed and mobility was restricted, as was mentioned by many of the members who had participated. And we don't deny the fact, sir, at that point in time, when there was a sudden shock, everybody was affected, and obviously the farmers were hit very badly because their products are perishable. They were not able to get their products out. Again, sir, the government had to balance out between controlling the pandemic and at the same time ensuring that people's livelihood, and especially the farmers' produce, doesn't go to waste, which was a very difficult challenge there in front of us at that point in time. But keeping that situation in mind, the Department of Agriculture and the Farmers' Welfare initiated the identification of alternative new markets in collaboration with the Deputy Commissioner, especially here in Shillong, in East Khasi Hills. And the objective was to ease the marketing of vegetables and fruits. So the markets that were identified were as follows. Number 1, 5th Mile, Upper Shillong. Number 2, 7th Mile, Upper Shillong. Number 3, Urkarlier, Sanghamati parking lot. Then Shiliangum, Lawi, Soyong, Latsmith, Anjali, Shillong City, sir. And so this was achieved by establishing communication with identified traders, wholesalers, farmer-based organizations, etc. And the nodal officers were notified to oversee the management of these markets, and car passes were issued to aggregators of vegetables and fruits at the village level for transportation of the same to the aforesaid markets. So during this time, there was also a mention about the fact that permits were not being given to farmers. So I would like to clarify that we made an exception for the farmers during that time, and we allowed passes to be issued by the Agriculture Department also. So there was a big movement to ensure that farmers did not face any kind of hardship during that time. The BDOs also were given the power, Agriculture Department also, and obviously district administration. So there were multiple agencies that were actually supporting the farmer. But given the situation that we faced at that point in time, with so much of chaos taking place, there were some farmers, sir, who did face hardship. And of course, it happens in situations like these. But I'm sure, sir, in the future, after the experiences we had, we have learned, we have been able to see where the problems lied. And God forbid, if we have to come again to face a situation which we had during the second wave and the first wave, I'm sure we will make sure that the farmers face minimum problem, though even in the second wave, a lot was done to minimize the hardship to the farmers. So in addition to all of this, we used 1917, which is the I-teams, to organize evacuation, marketing of agriculture produce within the state. I-teams collaborated with various organizations, local authorities and entrepreneurs, and made more than 700 trips during the lockdown to facilitate the lifting of 750 metric tons of produce from the farmers. So there was a mention that whenever the calls were made, the vehicles were not free. So it obviously indicates that if the vehicles were not free, they were busy taking somebody else's produce. The issue we faced is that the number of vehicles were not enough. So therefore, keeping that in mind, in this financial year, towards, as we approach Meghalaya Day, we intend to increase the fleet of 1917 to 10 folds more. So we have roughly about 20 to 30 vehicles in I-teams. We plan to increase the fleet to a minimum of 250 to 300 pickups. And this again will be distributed to the youth of the state and the farmers groups that will form, and they will then run this I-teams, and the ownership of these pickups will be given to them. and the government will contribute to a large extent towards the financing of these pickups, which will then be distributed to minimum of 300 beneficiaries, which could be individuals, which could be self-help groups, which could be farmers' organization also, sir. So the I-teams also facilitated the evacuation of vegetables to local buyers, and they in turn started the home delivery of vegetables and also provided assistance to home delivery entrepreneurs to set up online stores. Mobile kiosks were deployed for distribution and sale of essential commodities during curfew in localities of Shillong not covered by regular fair price and grocery shops. So even during the disruption in the second wave of the pandemic this year, our farmers have been able to supply various agriculture produce to the market, and the government has facilitated the process. So just to give an example, in the month of May 2021, we have supplied over 443 metric tons of potato, 767 metric tons of cabbage, 400 metric tons of tomato, and other produce from various locations in Khasi and Jaintia Hills to markets in the neighboring states such as Assam and West Bengal. In total, for the month of May 2021, 2,184 metric tons of vegetables were supplied to neighboring states. We have also sold large quantities of fruits, saplings, and fish. In the month of June, a total of 2,234 metric tons of vegetables and 67 metric tons of fruits and other produce was sold to the neighboring states. However, so these numbers are much lower than the pre-pandemic years, and farmers did face difficulty in selling their produce. In the month of April to July this year, during the second wave, the COVID-induced restrictions disrupted markets and supply chains. So there were very strict restrictions on interstate movement. Timing of opening and closing of markets was changed, and this has disrupted the flow of goods. Vegetables, being highly perishable, were greatly impacted because of this. And in Assam also, markets were open for 3 hours only, and buyers from there complained of less demand. All of these led to fall in prices of vegetables like cabbage, squash, as has been reported in some sections of the media and as has been shared by most of the members in the House who participated today. And therefore, sir, given the kind of situation we faced and this pandemic that we faced, the government was facing a challenge of ensuring that the COVID spread was controlled, yet at the same time managing the overall livelihood of the people and maintaining both of these in that, especially in the crucial time when the peak was there, was not an easy task. And therefore, yes, sir, during that time people did face a lot of difficulty. But as you are seeing, the situation is improving, and now we are seeing that more or less, I won't say fully, more or less we are seeing some sort of normalcy that's coming back. So I would like to bring also to the notice of the House that cabbage production of East Khasi Hills alone is about 30,000 metric tons, including 13,000 metric tons from Morankneng and about 9,000 metric tons from Milliam Block. The disruption in the market caused by the pandemic has reduced the demand significantly and had resulted in severe price drop during the peak harvesting time of June and July. The Agriculture Department and the Honorable Agriculture Minister had taken steps to talk to wholesalers and other traders to ensure lifting of cabbage even during the low demand period. In the month of September, with the relaxation of restrictions and demand picking up, the prices of vegetables have again started to increase. As of yesterday, the farm gate price of cabbage ranges between 15 to 18 rupees per kilo, and the price of squash is around 5 to 7 rupees per kilo. Apart from this, the Agriculture Department has also taken and will continue to take all steps to ensure that the farmers get the best price for their produce. as was mentioned by a number of the members, that government has been mentioning about different agriculture farm markets to come up, but nothing has happened. I'm happy to inform the members that new agriculture markets are being constructed at the following locations. In Samasi village in Saipung, East Genti Hills. Number 2 in Lawai village in Mauplang, East Khasi Hills. In Maujrong village in Light Crow, Katashnong, East Khasi Hills. In Jata, Mokondriu, East Khasi Hills. In Jongsha, Mokondriu, East Khasi Hills. In Laume, Milim, East Khasi Hills. In Nonglatem, Tadlesken, West Genti Hills. In Nongkra, Umbling, Ribhoi. In Nongluai 2 village in Nongstoin, West Khasi Hills. In Pinden Lindo village in Mokurwat, Southwest Khasi Hills. In Nengkra Bazar in Samanda, East Garo Hills. Rongsakri Hat in Samanda, East Garo Hills. Singchi in Tikrikila, West Garo Hills. Bamungdanga in Demdema, West Garo Hills. Karukol Adangri in Bakmara. Silkigri in Chokpot. In Chongpotgri in Rerapara. Ampati in Beta Singh. Karkuta Bazar in Karkuta. Gairong in Karkuta. And these already, so the tendering process is on and it's out in fact this week. And we expect that these markets will be up in 4 to 6 months. These are prefab structures which have been designed in a very, very practical manner because the experiences we had in the previous situation when markets were made, till now, so the operationalization of those markets could not take place. These markets were constructed maybe about 4 or 5 years back, and there's still a large number of them are actually not operational because there was a lack in proper planning on how it will be managed and run. The markets that we have come out with, these will be run by the farmers themselves. The farmers have applied for this, and based on the application, we have processed and selected 20. The land belongs to them. We will construct these markets out there and hand it back to the farmers to actually run the place. And we feel that is the only sustainable way to make a farmer's market operational and making sure that it runs properly. So the state schemes for the agriculture department are also being implemented to provide relief to the farmers. For example, in 2021 and 22, the state rice scheme, about 300 metric tons of high yielding and improved variety of rice were distributed to the farmers. 221 numbers of power tillers were supplied through mechanization scheme. And in this financial year, before the Meghalaya Day or maybe during the Meghalaya Day celebration, these numbers also will be increased, and we intend to give many more farmers power tillers in a way to mark the Meghalaya Day celebration also. So the numbers are being finalized. In the last 1-2 years, we have given 221 numbers. The numbers in this financial year will be much, much larger, sir. 3,000 kgs of biopesticides, 8,200 numbers of sprayers were also given to the farmers. And under the National Food Security Mission, 1,480 quintals of paddy seeds, 1,469 quintals of pulse seed, and 3,490 quintals of maize were distributed to the farmer. Additionally, sir, the focused mission of the departments are supporting farmers engaged in turmeric and mushroom cultivation. A large number of members mentioned about that. And I would like to inform that we had started the Lakadong mission. And a lot of members had mentioned that what is happening to the missions. So under the Lakadong mission, sir, we have seen an area expansion of over 1,074 hectares in the past 3 years. This has benefited 7,352 farmers across the state, and a total of about 8 crores has been spent on this mission. Improved marketing has also been done to benefit the farmers, in collaborating with external agencies like the Kiagarmet, Hyderabad, and Synthite India companies also, and agencies also. Similarly, the mushroom is a high-value crop with less production period and high demand. And owing to this, a lot of farmers took up mushroom cultivation during the pandemic to increase their source of income. Government has spent about 2.6 crores towards training, purchase of machinery for mushroom centers, and construction of new buildings to increase the production of mushroom in the state. For the Mushroom Development Center, Upper Shillong, spawn production increased from 5 metric tons all the way to 25 metric tons. More than 120,000 packets of 200-gram spawn were distributed from the centers despite the pandemic. And the production of mushroom has also increased after the mushroom mission was taken up, and we have increased it from 27 metric tons today to 200 metric tons in a period of just 2 years. So mushroom mission and the support from the government has benefited over 300 farmers and produced many progressive farms like Kong Priyal from Nongjelia village, Nongstoin, who appeared in the daily newspaper in Tamil Nadu. And to further support the farmers, mushroom farmers, we will be providing interest-free loans to the tune of 50,000 per person in the coming months. One of the honorable members mentioned about the fact that why not the principal amount also. So the government, for the first time, the Meghalaya government and this MDA government has taken the initiative to provide interest-free loan to the farmers. This was never done before. In fact, even the KCC loan that the farmers are taking, the government of Meghalaya has decided to intervene in that and give interest-free loan to the farmers. In fact, this is a major step, and we are one of the few states that has taken this step. Yes, it will cost the government a bit, but it is an incentive that's being given to the farmers. If we were to take the entire principal amount, the financial burden would be very, very huge. And obviously, the incentive and the push for the farmers also would not be there. Therefore, we have gone the extra mile, and maybe one of the few states in at least the northeast region that is giving interest-free loan to the farmers in most of the projects that we have taken up. So Government of India programs are also being implemented to support the farmers. For example, the Mission Organic Value Chain Development Program. Farmer producer groups are being formed and are being provided support of organic certification, cluster development, value addition, and marketing of produce. 12 farmer producer companies with a membership of over 5,000 farmers have been set up in Ribhoi, South Garo Hills, Southwest Garo Hills, and East Garo Hills. The Eastern Ribhoi Organic FPC has been provided post-harvest infrastructure for collection, aggregation, and grading of ginger. This FPC is supporting the farmers of the region in marketing of their ginger. Similarly, sir, somebody had mentioned about the IFAD-funded LAMP program, where 300 integrated village cooperative societies have been formed across the state to enable the aggregation and marketing of the produce. So let me also just give a small background of this. The IFAD program of Megalamp was actually meant to ensure that farmers would get access to market. And in this entire process, IFAD had made this project into a 1,000 crore project, out of which 500 was supposed to be paid by the state and the center, and 500 was supposed to be mobilized by the people themselves, the farmers themselves. In the initial stages, the project implementation did not go in the right direction. And there were more of road constructions that were taking place than the training and overall creation of infrastructure in the villages. And it became more of a road project. And there came a time in 2018 when there was a midterm review of this project. And IFAD had told us that they're going to shut it down. They said that we cannot continue with this because you have only spent 3% of the fund in the last 3 years. So the government at that point in time gave the assurance to IFAD that we will make sure that we revive this in the next 6 months. You please give us the time and opportunity. We have just taken over. And in the last 3 years, sir, I'm happy to inform you that we have increased the expenditure to over 50% now. And this project is finally on track. And finally, the farmers are getting the benefit. And in the last 3 years, 300 cooperatives have been formed with a membership of over 45,000 farmers. And these cooperatives are being provided support so that they can take up marketing and provide a better price to the farmers. 77 cooperatives have been formed in interest-free working capital loan of 5 lakhs each. And these cooperatives utilize the money to trade in products like ginger, cashew nut, areca nut, broom grass, vegetables, and piglets. For instance, the Plangdilion Integrated Village Cooperative Society in Ranikor Block, Southwest Khasi Hills, has done trading worth 22 lakhs using the 5 lakh rupees of working capital provided by the government. Similar is the case of Bandarigri IVCS, Integrated Village Cooperative Society in Chokpot Block, South Garo Hills, Sopo IVCS in Thadlisken Block, West Khasi Hills, and West Janti Hills, and many others are there, sir. And based on these learning experiences from existing cooperatives and the FPCs, we have recently launched a comprehensive program to support the farmers. Again, one of the members had mentioned that we had changed the name to welfare of the farmers. And what welfare have we done? Sir, I'm happy to inform the House that the biggest welfare program in the history of our state has been taken up by this government. And in this program, which we're calling the Farmers' Collectivization for Upscaling of Production and Marketing Systems, in short, FOCUS, which has complete guidelines that have been set. And through this program, in the next 1.5 years, we will be distributing 200 crores to over 4.5 lakh producer groups. And these can be farmers, these can be different textile, this can be producer groups of any kind. And the only condition we have is that when we give 5,000 rupees per beneficiary, they have to be in a producer group which is registered with us. And so, for example, even today, there will be a program in Morankneng. I'm supposed to go there, but because of another meeting, I might not be able to go. But in Morankneng, there's a proposal, there's a program today to distribute checks to about 10 groups. And each group will be about 10 to 20 members. So if you're a 10-member group, you'll get about 50,000 rupees that will go into the account of the producer group. Now, this money that is going to be there can only be used for the group's benefit. And that is where some of the concerns that members were mentioning, that through this fund that's available, the farmers will actually have the capital and the working money to be able to buy the seeds at the right time from the right place that they would want, to buy the pipe that may require to actually water their plant, which they would not be able to buy normally, or the tarpaulin to cover the produce that they had, which normally they would not have, or even to rent a vehicle so that they can take their produce or get the raw materials supplied. This kind of a working capital money in the hands of the group can do wonders for the overall production of the farmers. And as I said, sir, we plan to target to have 4.5 lakh producer households of the state to be part of this. And on an average, if there's going to be 10 members in every group, we are looking at 45,000 groups being benefited from this. And government is intending to spend over 200 crores to give to these different farmers in the next year and a half. And as I said, even today, I have a program in Morankneng when we'll be doing this, sir. So this is a very, very important program. And as I said, this is the largest ever in the history of our state welfare program for the farmers. As was mentioned by a large number of the members who participated, that the farmers have suffered in the last few years because of COVID. We are hopeful that these kind of welfare schemes, which has never been provided in the history of our state, will help them in these difficult times. And since it's being done in a producer group format, there will be an incentive to ensure that they use it for the right purpose and they are all able to increase the productivity of their farmers. So 4.5 lakh families will be affected and will be benefited by this program. Sir, I had mentioned earlier that we have decided to have the 2% interest subvention for the KCC, and this has benefited over 26,000 farmers in 2020-2021. And now the government is giving an additional interest subvention of 2% beginning this year. This means that the interest rate has been brought down to 0% under the KCC program in the state, and this has been done for the first time in our state. And I think we are maybe the only state in the Northeast that is giving the free, interest-free KCC loan, and the entire interest burden is being taken over by the state government. Apart from that, sir, we have also realized that livestock is another very important aspect. And in that, sir, a very ambitious program has been launched, and the largest, in fact, piggery mission in the whole country, amounting to 209 crores, was launched last year by Honorable Deputy CM and myself for the piggery mission in our state. And as I said, it's the largest piggery mission in the country. Sir, out of the 209 crores of budget, about 26 crore interest-free loan again has already been sanctioned till date to 149 cooperative societies comprising of about 2,000 producers. And this mission is expected to benefit 25,000 farmers across the state. And under the milk mission also, we have spent 10 crores of interest-free loan has already been released to 260 dairy farmers. So another intervention of the state government to mitigate rural distress was the effective implementation of the MGNREGS. So in the last financial year, we were one of the best performing states in terms of MGNREGS, even with COVID. And during these difficult times, with 1,300 crores being pumped into the economy, which, as I said, is one of the highest in the Northeast and definitely in the top 5 in the country as a whole, we were able to give wage component of 14,500 rupees per family. There were 6 lakh registered families, and each one got 14,500 crores simply because the government was able to implement the project in a very, very efficient manner in spite of the challenges we faced. And this was 25% higher than last year's implementation. So we tend to hope that we will be able to increase this in this financial year and cross this limit of 1,370 crores and bring it up to 1,500 or more. So this was another very major intervention that helped the people at the grassroots and the rural distress that the people were having, sir. So the state government has also actively pursued the goal of improving access of credit over the past 1 year. We all know that banking infrastructure is very weak in the rural areas. And therefore, sir, we reached out to the Ministry of Finance and all the banks in the state to expand their coverage. And it is only because of our unrelenting efforts today that 19 more branches are being opened this year in the underbanked areas of the state. This will not just improve access of credit and banking financial services, but will also create employment opportunities for hundreds of youths because of the backward and forward linkages. Additionally, sir, 185 people have been employed as banking correspondents to provide last-mile delivery of financial services. We have recently signed an MOU with the Meghalaya Rural Bank to deploy another 600 banking correspondents, which will create employment as well as financial accessibility and liquidity in the rural areas. Sir, another very important aspect when it comes to rural livelihood is the aspect of nano and micro entrepreneurs. And this is where another very important state's flagship program, which we call Prime program. This is an entrepreneurial development program where over 100 youth-led enterprises have been mentored and provided with funding support. Almost 2 crores has been given to these enterprises as grant support or soft loans. And under the program, youth is encouraged to explore alternative methods of employment, become job creators rather than job seekers. Specialized funding windows have been designed, keeping in mind the different requirements of different enterprises, and up to 5 lakhs of kickstart grant and up to 25 lakhs of scale-up loans are being provided. And all these interventions will enable the youth to build their business and provide entrepreneurship support at the grassroots level. So you're aware that the state has come out with its youth policy, and in this we are planning to engage and empower 12 lakh youth people of the state in the age of 15 to 29. We will have different programs. We have already mentioned in the budget speech that apart from the One Skill, One Talent program, which is going to be focused more on the younger group, which means 15, even up to down to 12 also. This will be One Skill, One Talent program, where we will try to cover all the youths with providing them skill and talent. But we are also planned to come up with programs where we will link up the skill development program, the entrepreneurship program, and the financial support that these youth, especially this young generation who are really willing to take that risk, we plan to combine these programs and also provide financial support to them so that they can kickstart their business at a young age. So these are the different programs that we have, which you will see, we will unveil in the next coming 6 months, and by the time we are ready to celebrate 50 years on 21st of January, we will unveil all of these programs by then, sir. But I just thought that since we are meeting in the House, I would like to share the ideas that we are working on, but obviously there's much more detail to it, which we will share during the course of time. So during this period of COVID, just to add that we had also helped the hotel industry. So we have paid almost 24 crores in terms of hotels when we use them for the quarantine centers for the health workers and other frontline workers. And so there are many such points. A lot of members have mentioned a large number of points. I have taken note of almost all of them, and I do share the concerns of the honorable members when they mentioned about the difficulties and challenges that the farmers have faced in the last 1.5 years. And yes, sir, when the situation was very, very difficult, there were really very, very sad stories and challenges that the farmers faced, and we do sympathize with that. But those were circumstances which were really some things that we had to take a call, keeping in mind the overall COVID situation and the danger that COVID would have had if we had allowed normal life to continue, and we may have had a worst scenario in terms of COVID. So at that point in time, the government had to balance, not an easy decision, not something that we had liked to do, but something we had to do in order to protect the lives of the people. But yes, that led to a bit of inconvenience to the farmers and did lead to a large loss of livelihood. But now with everybody's support and the vaccination drive moving forward, I'm sure that we will move towards normalcy, and hope that we will not see any more situation. And even if we do, then yes, the experiences in the last 1.5 years will allow us to come up with better strategies and manage the situation in a much better manner, keeping in mind that we have learned a lot in the last 2 years about COVID, about how the challenges people faced. But yes, during that moment, it was not easy for us to predict and easy for us to see all the challenges that might have come. But we did whatever best we could, keeping in mind the overall health safety and the livelihood of the people in mind, sir. So with these few clarifications and points, I hope that the honorable members were able to get an idea of how much the government has done in the past 1.5 years, and also a glimpse of what is to come in the next 1.5 years in regards to the overall benefit and upliftment of not just the farmers, but the entrepreneurs, the youth, and the rural populace at large. With these few words and clarifications, I resume my seat. Thank you.
On behalf of all my colleagues who have participated in this short duration discussion, which is no longer short, it was really comprehensive and detailed, I must thank the Honorable Chief Minister for bringing the holistic picture about the farmers' issues and the policies of the government in bringing about a change in the agricultural scenario in the state. We really appreciate the steps taken by the government, though we can understand that most of them are in the formative stage. We hope that all the schemes that have been highlighted by the Honorable Chief Minister will fructify on the ground, will be carried out sincerely by the officers concerned, and will be duly monitored by the Honorable Chief Minister, so that the farmers who are the backbone of the state are benefited. Sir, I have just few concerns, sir, which I feel that the Honorable Chief Minister may kindly consider. Since 2018, ever since I got elected, I have asked only for 2 godowns in my area to enable the farmers to stock their producers, sir. There has been 3 DO letters that had gone from my end to the Honorable Minister of Agriculture. And I see in the questions, the reply that came day before yesterday, that there is no such proposal. It is really sad, sir. We should not play politics here, sir. We are concerned. That is why we brought this particular subject matter on the floor of the House today to discuss the issues of the farmers. And patiently, we appreciated, we listened to the policies of the government as explained by the Chief Minister. And we work hand in hand with the government. Had we not brought these issues today relating to the farmers, perhaps the state and the people of our state would not have known what the government intends to do with the farmers. Therefore, when these small things that are asked for, I must thank the Honorable Chief Minister for considering the forest producers and converting them into agricultural producers, like the broomstick, the bay leaf, the pepper. This is the government who has done it. Who can deny it? And I do appreciate, and I do tell the people all over the state that yes, it has been done by this government. Now, sir, this broomstick has to be stocked somewhere. I asked only for 2 godowns in Lauba area, and readily I was assured by the minister in front of me, picked up the phones and tells the officers to be done. Until date, sir, I get a reply that no, it's not done, cannot be considered. So these are few things I feel that please consider, if not for the MLA, but for the farmers. I request the Honorable Chief Minister to kindly take note of this and kindly do something, sir. Godowns are required. Mausaram constituency is a rain-infested area, sir. Where will they park and where will they stock their producers? That is one, sir. Now, sir, I really thank the Chief Minister for listing out all the farmers' market, which they are coming up very shortly by constructing the prefab constructions. 20 of them, sir. May I request one market to come under Mausaram, sir, please. That will help, seriously. I am not trying to take opportunity of this time here, but, sir, the market in Mausaram is a central market of the whole area. That is why there comes all kinds of producers, sir. You could take from bitter leaf, betel nut, oranges, then you could take the broomsticks, the bay leaf, everything, sir. Therefore, if one farmer's market is considered at Mausaram to be added to the list, sir, it will be of great benefit for the sake of the farmers, sir. Thank you, sir.
Of the first point that was mentioned by the honourable member. Regarding the second point, just for the knowledge of all the members, so this is done based on applications that we receive. So we had advertised asking farmers, groups and associations who have land and who are ready to take this program where we will put the market for them and hand it back to them. So anyone can apply. So in the last time when the advertisement took place, about 35-40 groups applied. Out of these 35-40 groups, based on the location, we managed to give 20. This will again continue, and we are going to touch another 50 more. So we'll try to push it to 100 more, but at least 50 more we will do. So as and when the advertisements come out, I would urge if you can mobilize among your constituencies, farmers groups, and ask them to apply. And definitely based on the logical, the logistics of the location, definitely we will give importance to locations which will benefit more farmers and the public in general. So it's a very open thing. It's not something that we make in my room. It's the applications that we receive from the people. So I would like all to apply as and when the next advertising comes out.
Sir, I'd like to also thank the Honorable Chief Minister for the extensive reply and the efforts taken to improve the welfare of farmers and the entire agriculture sector. So coming to markets, actually, I think the Honorable CM is also well aware that the DPR for the Umroi market was already ready. Land was also available, applications placed, and at the same time, simultaneously, we also have to look at the development of the Umroi airport. More flights are coming up, and the existing market had to be shifted because there is a danger of bird hits, considering that the existing Umroi market is just adjacent to the boundary of the airport. So with that objective, we had moved, and the Agriculture Minister also visited the spot. The land was also donated, papers put in, but then it seems the application was shut down. So, not mentioning the reason, but the Umroi market application was not accepted. So that is one thing, sir, which is of concern, because we are not looking only from the market perspective, we are also looking at the airport perspective, which is very, very important, considering that the flights are in danger because of the adjacent position of the current market. So, sir, I would also look at the point of the farmers producers group, because if the previous program of MOVCD is continuing, and if under that umbrella the FPGs are being constituted, then they are also being registered under the Companies Act, which again creates a lot of inconveniences to the farmers producers group. Therefore, a similar request I had put in earlier, where the farmers producers groups also, sir, should come under the Cooperative Societies Act, not under the Companies Act, because the entire program is handled from Delhi. All these consultants, they come from Delhi. They just give whatever they want, whatever is prescribed in the scheme, whether it's all supply driven, not demand driven. We have seen this. Therefore, sir, the entire kind of guideline that has been prescribed for the FPGs coming under the MOVCD program, that has to be relooked, sir, so that farmers will be benefited more, and more villages and more FPGs should be brought in, so that more farmers and more villages can be benefited. These are my few submissions, sir.
So I've taken note of that.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Just one clarification from the Honorable Chief Minister regarding the working scheme on timber business, sir. Because most of the Invest Hasil, sir, most of these laborers depend on the timber business. So I would like to get a clarification if the implementation of the working scheme can be done at the earliest.
Sir, I don't have the information sought by the Honourable Member with me right now, but I have taken note of it also, and I'm sure my team also has taken note of it. So definitely we'll get back to the Honourable Member on this, sir.
Thank you, sir.